Hello and welcome, fellow sovereigns. And today's little talk is sponsored by God. Very kind chap that he is. The reason is it was prompted because I was recently asked if I believed in God. And my answer was, which one? And their reply was, well, there's only one God. And I had to concede that they might possibly be right. However, there are so many gods in the sense that there are so many perceptions of God. For some people, there's this old fellow with a beard sitting on a cloud telling us what we did wrong and what we did right. For some, there's a vicious, fierce, unrelenting God. For some, there's a loving God. For some, it's a bloke. For some, it's a woman. And for some people, there is no being. God's not a being. God is a system, a way of, when I take this action, this happens. And I was talking to a lady who said she was Buddhist. What was that? Sunday. And so I was curious. I said, so you guys don't have a God, or don't talk about a God? And of course, Buddhism is not a religion. So Buddhism is a way of life. It's kind of a philosophy of how to live. So of course, there's no God. So I said, do you have something that's kind of bigger than you? There's something else, so to speak. And she said, well, she thought for a moment and she just said, well, there's karma. And I guess so for her, that bigger thing that she didn't know what it was, she called it karma. And she knew that when she acted in the world, in each moment, karma was there to, that was a system in which she worked. And so, I know that when someone asks me if I believe in God, and I say yes, their assumption then will be that I will believe in the perception of what they see God as. And because I don't know what their perception is, I can't answer the question. I will need to find out what their perception of God is. And my actual truth is that I don't know what God is. And I don't know what love is. And the Course of Miracles tells us that as human beings on the planet living our lives, we cannot know what love is. We can never know. And I suspect we can never know what God is. So the Course tells us that the only thing we can do is find the blocks to that, find the blocks to love, and work our way through that. So whatever gets in the way of my prosperity, I can see that and I can work through it. Whatever gets in the way of my peace, my sense of compassion, my love, whatever gets in the way, that's very obvious to every human. And I know what makes me happy. I know what gets in the way of my happiness. And so I can just simply work through those. And let go the grievances, let go the angst, and let go of all of those things that get in the way of love. But I cannot know love. It's almost like explaining love, to me anyway, this is just my perception, again. It's a guess, it's a wild opinion. My perception is that explaining love or explaining God to a human is like explaining to an unborn child what it's like to be an adult. I just sense that it's so far beyond our realm of possibilities or our imaginations of what could possibly be that there's no point in trying. And maybe there's no point in trying anyway, because it doesn't matter. And I remember, because quite a long time ago, somebody tried to tell me that the orgasm was given to us by God because that was the closest experience we can have of heaven, of bliss, of nirvana. And that's a lovely story. And I do remember way before that, I was probably 12 or 13 or 14, I asked Mum what sex felt like. And my mother never backed away from those questions. And she thought, and she said, well, it sort of feels like a feather tickling your bum. And I thought, and that was enough for me in that moment. I was happy with that explanation. I didn't actually quite really know what sex, I suppose I did. I did. I did know, actually. Yeah. And so now I had a sense of what the feeling could be. And I've since discovered that it's many other things as well. But it's even something like the orgasm, which we've all experienced, is whenever we try and put words to it, they can never really do it for us. And so we try and use our words, which is all we've got, our communication system that we have here, but none of them really do the job. They're kind of symbols of symbols of symbols. And so I guess when I first got into this New Age stuff, probably a long time ago, and then I eased out of it. But when I was there, I discovered there's lots and lots of books, there's lots of workshops, there's lots of discussions, and we had lots of about, what does God like, what's love like, what's heaven like, what happens after life, and all of that stuff. And I realised quite soon into it that it's a wonderful entertainment about, are there past lives? Are there future lives? Have I been here a million times before? Am I actually here in many different lives at the same time? And what happens when I die and before I come back to the next life? There's those interlives. And so there's books and workshops and people talking about all of that stuff and what could be and what might be. And I guess for me, I thought, it's lovely entertainment, but what's the point? What's it doing for me in this moment? And so when we start trying to describe God, trying to describe love, trying to describe heaven, and trying to... the reality is it's just lovely entertainment. And it's like a prisoner in prison. And they're fantasizing about some beautiful beach or sunshiny place or somewhere up in the mountains or whatever, somewhere where he would love to be or she would love to be. And it's a lovely fantasy, and it probably helps in a moment to take away the stress of being imprisoned, but it does not get them out of prison. What does get them out of prison perhaps is being a good prisoner and getting out early release or whatever. And I know when Nelson Mandela came out of prison after 28 years, he said if he had not forgiven everyone, himself, his prisoners, the government, his friends, his wife, everyone he knew and everyone he didn't know, if he had not done the work while he was in prison, he would have walked away still being in prison. So he didn't fantasize about what it was like to be out there. He did the work while he was in there. The work that was required to be in life, in the moment, in each day, in each place. So he was in prison. And I suspect that's possibly going to get us out of this prison, if that's what we want to call it. Get us out of this life, or get us through this life. And so we can pretend we know what love is, we can pretend we know what God is, we can pretend we know what heaven is, and the 53 steps to enlightenment and the 19 steps to grace and all of that stuff. But if we don't know what heaven is, how do we know what the 53 steps to heaven are? Again, that's a fantasy. It's a playground thing. We're playing in the playground. The only thing we know is this moment, here, right now. This desk, this room, this sunshine out there, that's what we know. And so as the Course of Miracles says, we cannot know what love is. We can, however, know what the blocks to love are. And in this moment, I know what takes away my sense of peace, what takes away my sense of joy, what takes away my sense of connectedness, what takes away whatever it is that takes away those things, because they are what I am. I am love, I am compassion, I am peace. And I know the things that I can do and think and say that take that away. And they are my blocks. And the reality is I don't need to know what God is. And people fantasize and write books and about all sorts of other creatures out there in the other worlds. And I know that we can't be the only civilization on this. We're this tiny infinitesimal thing on an unbelievably large universe that just goes on forever. We can't be the only ones here. That's intuition. I just kind of feel that. But until I meet them, I haven't met anybody from Saturn or Septa, whatever the name of the other planets are, and they may well be out there. It's possible. And we're a carbon-based kind of bunch of people, creatures. There could be silicon-based societies. And that's entirely possible. It's also a fantasy. It's also just playing with things. It does not help me in this moment to end up in a discussion about what could be out there, or what used to be out there a million years ago, or what used to be here a million years ago. There's people come up with all these sacred mysteries about what used to be here and what happened and and the earth moved and this happened. Well, it's entertaining, but it does not change our lives. Lovely entertainment. Beautiful. And as long as we recognize it as entertainment, just as the prisoner recognizes it fantasizing about a holiday in some beach area or wherever up the mountains, or just being free back with his mates, just as the prisoner recognizes that's no more than fantasy, because it won't get him out of prison, I feel it's helpful to know that it's fun to play in the possibilities of what God is and what love is and what heaven is and nirvana and Helvala or wherever we think we're likely perhaps to be going. But in this moment is where we are in this moment. That's what we have to deal with. What do I have to do in this moment? Oh, I'll probably have to make myself some breakfast. I might sit out in the sunshine and read the book that I'm reading and carry on with the short story that I'm writing, and then I'm having lunch with a friend and I will share the joy that I have with life with her and our experiences, and I will make that a beautiful experience with somebody else, that connection. And it's really, really simple. I think. I could be wrong. I think it's simple. In this moment. If someone's down, I'll share my empathy with them. If someone's up, I'll share my empathy with them. How difficult. And instead of straining about what God could be and what life could be and what love could be and what heaven might look like, here we are in this moment. That's what we have to work with. And so I wish you, what do I wish you? I wish you the non-strain of trying to work out what God and love are. I wish you the peace. And I wish that you could find yet another block to love and release it. That's what I wish you. Another block today. and more peace will flow in. That's what I wish you. Another simple little block. But like Nelson Mandela, every day he forgave one other person, and he was eventually free. So maybe we wish ourselves forgiveness, maybe for ourselves, maybe for someone else. That's what I wish. Another block to love released. And I bless you and all who sail in her.